Welcome back to the Journey to Leadership podcast. Leadership and management insights to engage, educate, and empower. The aim of this podcast is to provide leaders at all levels of organizations with the tactics and techniques to dramatically increase effectiveness, productivity, and results in their business. I am Coach Corey Atkinson, your leadership and performance coach, head of learning and development at CSPN. And today we're talking about action. Trust in action. Now, in my leadership sessions that I often deliver across the country, I often refer to the following quote a number of times throughout the session to my participants. I say to them, people are most influenced to change by people they trust the most. People are most influenced to change by people they trust the most. Now, in today's world, charged with political divisiveness and cultural differences at every turn, it can be a challenge to build trust that really matters. And when times are tough, and we're going through very volatile times, trust is imperative. Trust is one of those things where how do I get it and how do I make it stick is always a question. That is, unless you know Renee. Renee was one of my first coaching clients, but even years later, she still stays with me as one who put trust into action. When I first met Renee, she was a newly appointed director of personnel who worked for a leading airline company. Renee had built her capabilities over the years on being organized, efficient, and worked well independently. But in this new role, she was going to have to stretch. She was going to have to work with different departments, different groups, different perspectives that weren't always in line with what the other groups were doing. On top of that, she had her sights set on moving up the organization and wanted to make sure that in doing so, she was always walking the talk. In our very first coaching session, we sat down, we started chatting, and before we even got into it, she says, Corey, my goal is one thing. I said, what is that, Renee? She said, I want to be a leader in the true sense of the word. I want to be the kind of person who, when I finish working with this group of people and I leave, the team members have positive things to say about me. I smiled and said, oh, you're talking about legacy leadership. She nodded and said, yeah, that's it. I want to leave a legacy, Corey, but not in a, hey, look at me sort of way. I replied, don't worry. I know exactly what you mean, Renee. You want to make a difference to the people around you as well as the organization, but never lose your humility. She said, yeah, that's it. And then she continued, because Corey, I had a previous manager who was all about himself. He knew his stuff and he was great from a technical perspective, but he bragged about it. And it was always him first, the team second. It was very stressful to work with him. I nodded, and then she continued. As a result, I saw how every day he lost the trust of the team, and I saw how quickly people left the department. People gossiped about him to others, and eventually just many people became disengaged. It got really ugly. I never want to have that effect on others. I shook my head in agreement and said, Renee, I've dealt with those situations before, and the problem is that sometimes people get a lot of technical skills and move up in organizations, but don't have the people skills to match it. But I said, don't worry, you're in a great place. Take out your notepad, let's get to work. Over the next few months, Renee blossomed. I mean, she really just became the true leader. And she did three things from the coaching really well. She connected, she clarified, and she kept people accountable. Now, when I say connect, she truly connected with her people. She discovered what drove them, not just her direct reports, but even the people that reported to her direct reports. She took it to the next level. She clarified the required behaviors to be on the team. She set expectations, but she always reminded people of those expectations in gentle ways that they couldn't forget it. And then accountability, but in the sense that there was consequence for behaviors, meaning that if your team did what was required to support team efforts, you were acknowledged. And if you didn't, then there was coaching for you. So she connected, she clarified, and she held people accountable. So a few months go by, we're still in our sessions, and then it happens. Rumors of slowdowns across the airline industry are on all online news feeds, headlines of newspapers, and of course with those rumors come the concerns about layoffs. And when times are tough and organizations get hit broadside with a challenge, a disruption, if you will, trust in action is critical to the success of the organization. As a matter of fact, it's vital because when there's a crisis, there needs to be a bond. Now, if you remember from day one, Renee had been working hard at connecting with her team. And because she did that on a regular basis and was genuine about it, it was almost like she'd created a long history of good relations with her employees. So you can imagine engagement, confidence was high with the team when the airline's flight crews, travel coordinators, terminal assistance teams, and even baggage handlers were threatened with layoffs. Now, I'd read some of this online and knew Renee was going to definitely want to talk about a strategy. She was going to be concerned. So to say I was a little off guard when we sat down at our meeting was an understatement, because she sat down and she was beaming, brimming from ear to ear. And she burst out, "Corey, I did it. I know that for this moment, I am a leader." I was shocked. I said, "What happened?" And she said, "Corey, you've obviously heard about the rumors of layoffs across the industry." I said, "Yes." And she said, "Well, Corey, we're having our team meeting yesterday, and one of my team members stands up and says in the middle of the meeting, 'Renee, because you have worked hard to build our trust, because you always listen to our suggestions and you make us feel like we're part of something, we have gotten together and decided on something.'" Corey, I didn't know what was going to happen. And then they say, "Because of you, we propose that we all work part-time so no one need to be laid off." Corey, my jaw dropped. Renee, my jaw's dropped. That is incredible. Renee, that is trust in action. You see, Renee and her fellow leaders, it wasn't just her, had been building trust intentionally and not from a manipulative point of view long enough with the employees that they knew their leaders would listen to their ideas. And that's trust in action. Now, what's your takeaway from this podcast today? A couple things. First, building trust takes time, but it helps to have when a crisis occurs. Think about the last time you were in crisis. You thought of somebody you could trust to go to. In this case, the employees had confidence in their leaders' ability to hear them out, and this gave them the creative mindset necessary to formulate a creative solution. So to make sure trust and action happens for you, keep these three perspectives in mind. 1, connect. Truly connect with your people. Discover what drives them, what values they have. 2, clarify the required behaviors to be on the team and keep those behaviors top of mind in everybody's minds, and then model them yourself. And 3, make sure their accountability is there's a consequence for the behavior. Hold yourself and others accountable for their behaviors that both align with where the team and organization go, and then of course the appropriate consequence if those behaviors do not align and help the organization move forward. So there's a couple of stats that I would like to share that really drive this home. The first one is 20%. 1 in 5 employees who are actively disengaged say they do not find their work meaningful or trust their leader. While engaged staff, or staff that does trust you, are more than 44% productive than just satisfied staff. And then if you go to the next level, inspired staff, which is obviously what Renee's team was, inspired staff are 125% more productive than satisfied staff. Maybe that's creativity or just how they get their work done. But the numbers are there. 20, 44, and 125. And because, again, Renee and her other leaders had a history of building trust, listening to their employees, the workers knew they could take initiative and collectively find a solution. So that's our podcast for this week. Please connect with me through our website, mycspn.com. You'll find information about our customizable learning and development options, consulting, upcoming events, and client success stories. As well, you can reach out to me on LinkedIn or Twitter, or even email me directly at Corey, Corey, at mycspn.com. I love getting your thoughts, comments, and of course, your questions. Now, all of our episodes are on our archives page under podcast, so please go there to see what else we've been talking about. And of course, because community is key to our journey to leadership and life, I have a great offer for you, the listener. When you post a positive review of the podcast, I'll send you my CSPN 2018 Gotta See This reading list. It's a collection of books, articles, blogs, infographics, and more that my clients and I have found extremely helpful for maximizing leadership, implementing management strategies, and delivering memorable experiences for clients and customers. So please post your review and I will send the list immediately. Once again, my name is Corey Atkinson, your leadership and performance coach at CSPN. Hope you really enjoyed listening and look forward to seeing you on your journey to leadership. Thanks for listening. Have a fabulous day.